Hello, everybody. Good morning. Welcome to The Better Life with Dr. Pinkston. I am Dr. Mariane Pinkston, and today I am going to bring you another great topic that is very near and dear to my heart. I think if I find any good reads and good people who have a similar story to, burnout and stress and how, to lose weight, pull your life together, your health together, then I have attracted a lot of these people, and no exception today. I have Dan Capello on with me today, who is getting ready to finish up a book and get this out. It sounds wonderful. It is definitely going to direct toward this broad topic, and hopefully we can bring this together. Good morning, Dan. How are you?
Good. How are you doing? Good morning.
I'm fantastic. It's Monday. We're ready to roll. And so tell me a little bit about you and this new book you're writing, and kind of your story and what brings you to see us.
Well, I was a professional chef up until last year, but I went through some major changes, actually fell into my purpose and fixed my life, because I was actually 300 pounds and burnt out. And as I label myself as a professional burnout artist that's recovered, because as a culinary expert or culinary professional, you are constantly stressed. There's so many moving parts, and in the medical field, everybody understands the same thing, because there is so much riding on our success, because when we fail, it's a major consequence for, doctors, it's lives, and chefs, it's anywhere from 12 people that spent tons of money, or 500 or 1,000 people. It's all riding on that one time. It's not like you have, okay, well, you get 10 more minutes. It's like, no, it got to be done now. Right. So that's that burnout. And as a chef, it's like we wear it as a badge of honor. It's like, I come in first. I leave last. I am the one. Right. And it's like, if it's not going to be me doing it right, then it's not going to be done. And that's a mentality that drives us crazy, because it's so stressful. Right. We create our own demons. And that's where a lot of us fall into. So I was 300 pounds, burned out again, and at a very prestigious club. And then I fell into a book I actually read. I have a very dyslexic background. And I had no reason why, didn't know why. And then I was reading, or I don't read, I found Audible. Oh my God, you talk about a difference. So I started listening to Audible. That changed my life, because I actually had someone that could speak into my life, because I would not allow anyone to speak into my life. I was very manly, or whatever you want to, whatever BS that is. But I actually listened to the book Can't Hurt Me by David Goggins. Mm-hmm. And he had a very similar background. He was very traumatized as a kid. He was 300 pounds. He lost all that weight in a very short time and became a Navy SEAL, and the rest is history. Right. But he always had that one question. It was almost a battle cry for me. It's that what if? Because he was 300 pounds, eating donuts and drinking a big Coke or whatever, sitting on the couch, and he's like watching these Navy SEALs, and he goes, I want to do that. So I was like 300 pounds, January 1st. And I was like, I saw some Spartan race guys. I was like, I want to do that. I'm going to run a Spartan race. Wow. Who does that? It's crazy. 300 pounds, January 1st, like everybody else wants to change their life on January 1st. And I was like, I'm going to do that. And that was in October. Well, I went through the changes, did what I had to, struggled and persevered. And in October of the same year of 2019, I ran the race, and I was 200 and almost a little less than 230. Wow. So I lost all that weight, and I actually ran the race. I didn't walk it. I ran the race. That's wonderful. And was able to do most of the things. Actually, I hurt my shoulders. I hurt my knees. I hurt so many parts of my body training for this. Nice. It was crazy. But I healed, kept going and kept going. And the worst part is when I got to that, I thought, oh, I'm done. Cool. I'm done. I can stop. But that's when I ran into my mental issues. And I went down some rabbit holes, and I read this book called The Body Keeps Score by Dr. Bessel van der Kolk. Mm-hmm. Amazing book. It's about trauma. Well, it actually triggered me back to my childhood sexual trauma at 6 years old that I had completely blocked over. But when it triggered me at that moment, I could smell, I could see the wall. I had the feelings. I had the tensing of my body. I could see everything. It was like I was there. It was really wild. And that threw me into for a loop.
I'll bet it did.
Yeah.
And that was 2019, you said?
Yes, that was actually 2019. That was in November. Okay. It was like a month later.
That hasn't been long ago.
No. And that's when I found ground zero of all my problems. Because when I was 6, I developed a speech impediment out of the blue and nobody knew where it came from. Not even me. I didn't remember it. My brain covered it up.
Right.
And that created the bullying and the overweight because my food became my first coping mechanism. That was my first love, was food. And I grew like crazy. Yeah. All my family was really short, 5'8", and I'm like 6'3". So that was that nutritional extra. Absolutely. So, but then I was also overweight too, which created the bullying. And then I found drugs and alcohol.
A lot of self-medicating. So food, drugs, alcohol. People don't realize food can be a source of self-medication as well.
Yeah, that was my first love until I found alcohol. Because I grew up Catholic and, we would have, at all Catholic parties, there's always drinks.
Gotcha. So you covered a lot of great things that I think that, in mentioning the beginning as a chef, as a doctor, I think everybody in their family has some sort of, leadership role. And, whether you're the provider, the breadwinner, or whether you're the mom, the nurturer, running the household or whatever, looking back over people, we all have some stage and sort of trauma that's important to us that, may not be as severe as, sexual abuse, which is horrible. I'm so sorry about that. And, we all have some sort of state where we get burned out and exhausted and, face our demons, as you said, with some sort of self-medicating, therapy, as such as, gambling. People don't realize that gambling, porn, shopping, even those things are things that we tend to pat ourselves against. People like you and I who have overcome significant traumas and significant addictions. I had a food addiction as well. I was 300 pounds. It seems to be the theme today, 300 pounds. And to lose, what got into you, should I ask, that, flip the light switch January 1st. You've had a lot of January 1st. And so what got into you that January 1st that you think actually flipped the moment for you? People are generally looking for, quick ways to lose their weight or, solve their problems, but people don't realize it is a significant process. And so you do have to reach a moment where you're actually truly just tired of being tired or tired of being overweight or just tired. And, you do have to just change your mind at that moment. How did you do that? What sent you that direction?
Well, we all have to have that moment. It's like that moment where you're sick and tired of being sick and tired.
Right.
That's that key moment. But the thing is a lot of us is we've tried it on our own. We've done it on our own.
Thank you.
We tried to prompt ourselves and we failed. We've lost the weight. We look good. We feel good. And then we fall back into our stress and our burnout. And it's a vicious cycle because we don't really aware. It's like all of a sudden we're 300 pounds again. And you're like, how the hell this happened? I didn't see it. You don't see it while you're in it.
And relapse. And that's what alcoholics, so they'll stop drinking, go cold turkey for a while, and then they'll relapse. And people can do the same thing with food and burnout, whatever it is that they're doing that's burning them out, they can relapse backwards. So moving past that's very difficult.
Right. Our brain blocks us seeing us growing because it doesn't happen in a heartbeat. It's very gradual. So we don't see that gradualness. So we're blind to it until we wake up and you look at a picture. And that's when I looked at a picture. I was at a wedding and I was like, who is that?
Who is that?
Oh my God.
Exactly.
And that's my beginning picture. I proudly present that. This was that turning point where oh my God, I got to do something.
Right.
I've seen people die. There's so many chefs they're broken down and they can't walk and they can't, they're overweight and the anger issues I was really good at being angry, really good.
And that probably the trauma background, that I think I had a young man in my clinic who has experienced a lot of childhood trauma. And the other day he had 22. Thank God he got to the point at 22 where he dropped the alcohol and drugs and said, I don't want to live this way. I'm like, thank God you're figuring this out now. Not like, I did 48. and can set things straight, but a very significant trauma background. It's kind of a buzzword these days, trauma. And so but that's what like I say, there's so many of us who go through something terrible. Why do certain people get to a point where they can actually overcome and deal with it? A lot of people as well will see this change that they need to make as something, I just need to drop the weight, take me a couple months, I'll drop all the weight, I'll be fine. And, look for quick ways to get out of a situation. It's very, very much a process. So I think probably and I wonder with your book that will be coming out, are you dealing with that process? Are you helping people understand how to get through that process and deal with the underlying issues rather than just kind of put another Band-Aid on it, try to drop the weight or change whatever it is that they're doing and just, have another Band-Aid, so to speak?
Right. A lot of us are triggered. And that's where your addictions have come from, your food, your coping. It's because you were triggered. Right. So you're triggered and that's the reaction for you so that you can actually accept that you are a person that's triggered, but you don't know where your triggers come from.
Right.
If you can figure out your ground zero, figure out where your triggers come from, then you can get strength from that. I was traumatized. Amazing. And then I was beat all the time because I was a little shit. And because I was traumatized and my parents didn't realize that I was misbehaving, not because I was bad, but because I was traumatized. Right. And nobody saw that. And I didn't tell anybody. My brain covered it up. Sure. But when we're triggered, we have that system. So that's one of the things I learned is when I'm triggered, it was the same exact chemical reaction that I had when I was 6 that I had all the way through my adult life, which was very extreme.
Yes.
And so your body remembers, and then that chemical incident happens over and over. And it keeps us from advancing to the next level. It keeps us from our potential. It keeps us from the person. Because a lot of people, I said, my wife's not working. I need a new wife or I need a new husband. It's like, no, you don't. You need a new you. Right. You need to fix you. They're not the problem. The world's not the problem. You are I was my problem. Absolutely. When I figured out that I'm the problem, then and admit it, I can do something about it. If I don't admit it, I can't do anything about it. And that's where the quick weight loss and, if I just get a new car, I get a new purse or, I get a new fishing rod or bass boat or no, you're covering the problem. Right. Right. So how do people begin to work through that process if they're ready to face it? I think half the battle is knowing that you're ready to face something like that. It's a very, very difficult process to discover yourself. People ask me, or will come to the clinic and sit in front and say, Dr. Pinkston, I want to do what you did. I want to lose weight like that and get healthy like that. And I'm like, really, I'll look back at them and I'm like, do you really? Are you truly ready to do that? Because we can get the weight off, but what got you there in the first place? So how do people begin to face that and unwind that? Like you said, you mentioned that they tend to do it by themselves. And so we can't do this by ourselves. I think building in a good support system do you agree with that? Is that something you found helped you? Oh, yeah. No, I mean, that's what I don't remember who did it. But one of the great quotes that I really love is you don't have enough time to make all the mistakes. Mm-hmm. Wow. So if you learn from other people who've been before you, then you can cut back on the mistakes and it doesn't take you as long to get where you need to be because you have to get to that point or you're never going to be better. You're always going to be Groundhog Day every single day. Absolutely. Boy, you can do that for a long time too. And so in, recognizing those mistakes. So again, I still try to figure out how a person reaches that moment though. There is that moment of awakening. So you do realize that, now I've tried this many, many times. Now something really, really needs to change. And I think we travel through many of those decisions over and over and over. Like say every January 1st, we make a new set of decisions to change our life. And rarely do we ever. And that is where the Groundhog Day comes in a month later. Everybody drops everything, starts over, goes right back to what they were doing before. How do you reach that level where you finally change? Well, that's a really good question. It's a tough question. It is. It's so personal for every single person. It is very personal. But it's when you decide that you are not where you want to be. You don't have the relationship that you want, that you don't have the financial income that you want. You don't have the passion or your purpose. And once you can find those and decide that I want those, then you're okay. Because that's that whole model of change, pre-contemplation, contemplation, all that. I looked at that and I'm like, that's garbage. You got to figure it out.
Thank you.
You got to decide. Until you decide, it's never going to happen. It's up to you, up to me, everybody. You got to have that. And you got to know your ground zero for your problems. And once you figure that out and decide that you're going to change, that you want to be better, then that's where my 6 steps came in. I took what I did and broke it down into 6 steps to figure out how we can get there.
Sure. Wonderful. So we're going to, come up on a short break here. The time flies so quickly, right?
Yeah.
So tell me a little bit of where, and then we'll discuss that. I want to discuss those 6 steps and we'll come back and do that in a few minutes. But tell people where they can find you and more information on your story and the things that you've accomplished in the new book that's coming out.
Well, I post almost daily on LinkedIn. That's where I've decided my thing is. So if you want to see the stories, go to LinkedIn. You get all the history of what I've done. I've been posting almost for 5 days a week or 6 days, some days 7 days a week since
that's wonderful.
September of last year. So I'm going to almost a year of content. And it's a lot of content. And I'm getting better and better at refining and distilling down the message to help people.
LinkedIn, which I will have on my site, is there, how can people look you up? LinkedIn was, even though I'll have the link, but
just Dan Capello. Just put in Dan Capello and you'll see my lovely mug.
Okay.
And then also, my website is www.dancapello.com. Easy.
Excellent.
Simple.
Very easy. That's nice. And I will have all of that information on my website. So you can go to drpbetterlife.com and there you'll find all of my previous shows and all the platforms, including YouTube, and more about the radio station, blog, things like that. I will have all of this information there for you. And need to say a few short words about my sponsor, Pinnacle Research, who has been so good to me for the last almost 2 years now. Pinnacle Research is a fatty liver research and liver research here in San Antonio, and actually world-renowned. Dr. Stephen Harrison, Dr. Patil, many wonderful people over there. PinnacleResearch.com. You can schedule for a free FibroScan, get a good liver checkup, see if you have the early stages or latter stages of fatty liver. So PinnacleResearch.com, and I appreciate them helping me out the last 2 years. So we are going to take a short break. Come back on the other side and talk about those 6 steps. I want to hear all about this.
Fatty liver is linked to 2 different situations, alcohol and diabetes or obesity. In both cases, patients can have no symptoms. In the United States, and in particular, Texas, the most common cause of liver disease in general is non-alcoholic fatty liver. Again, associated with overweight, obesity, and or diabetes. Additional risk factors include high cholesterol, high blood pressure, Hispanic ethnicity, and postmenopausal status. At Pinnacle Clinical Research, we offer a quick, non-invasive ultrasound-based screening assessment called FibroScan. This test is done at no cost to you, and we do not take insurance. The test will measure the fat and stiffness in your liver and stage your risk and development of fatty liver disease. You will meet with a provider immediately following your scan to go over your results. If you're interested in getting more information on your liver health, please call 210-982-0320 and schedule your FibroScan today. We are conveniently located in the Medical Center at 5109 Medical Drive.
Welcome back. I'm Dr. Mariane Pinkston here with Dan Capello today, who is writing a wonderful book that we've been talking a little bit about how to change your life and how to find a new direction with whatever you have been self-medicating with, or, patting your world against things that you've experienced in your background, stress, things like that. And so deliberate evaluation is
evolution.
Evolution. Thank you. I'm so sorry about that.
No worries.
But you mentioned 6 steps that are there for changing your life and that you have put together. Tell us a little bit about those 6 steps. I know we've got a very short amount of time, but give us a teaser.
Yeah. Well, deliberate evolution's on purpose because you have to be deliberate, right? And you have to evolve. And to start that, you have to, your first step is you have to find your values and your priorities. And that gives you what your goal is. You can't have goals. Goals drive you crazy. You'll never reach any of them. You got to have one goal. That's it. One goal in life, one mountaintop, one North Star. And then after that, you have to get personal empowerment. You have to be able to empower yourself to be able to do that. That's where your self-awareness comes in, because we lose so much because we're not aware of what we do ourselves. We don't see ourselves, and then you have to move to your mindset. You have to change that mindset and become that I can do it.
Right.
And then, once you start going with that, you start to have to adapt. You have to be agile to be able to continue to look at failure is not failure unless you stop. Right. Failure is the only way you progress, is because when you fail, you learn.
Well said.
And then the next one is you have to be collaborative. Mm-hmm. You can't do it in a vacuum. You have to have people. We are societal animals. And until we decide that we're going to be in society, we're never going to solve our problems, because society created the problem. We have to go to society to find the answers.
Good or bad. Yep.
Yeah. Because there is no bad answers. Because if you find out something that's bad, then then you can handle the good.
Sure.
And then the last one is you have to get off your butt and do it. You have to take action.
Motivation.
That's it. You can learn all you want. Procrastination by too much information it kills us all. We overthink everything. Stop thinking and get off your duff and get it going. And Absolutely. That's how that was that January 1st for me, that Groundhog Day for me. It was like, okay, stop. Because you're doing everything over and over and over. Stop and do this.
And that's the definition of insanity, as they say. Do something over and over and expecting a different result, right? So brilliant title, though, Deliberate Evolution. Brilliant title, because it is something you do have to decide on deliberately. It's not something that I think my entire life, I thought that, things were going to happen to me or come to me and to make things good and perfect. And in fact, I thought if I did everything I was supposed to do, at one point, life would be perfect. I'd be set and we could just roll. It was about 40 where I figured out that is not going to happen, that, it's always going to be a mess and it was always going to be something to straighten out. So that, I had to be proactive to make decisions about what was good or bad for me or my family, and then enact on it and just be terribly persistent. To find the energy to do that is very, very difficult. You mentioned one of your emails that you really have, and we're coming up on the end of our time here, but you mentioned one of your emails, a good list of things, things like good sleep, nourishing your body, treating your microbiome, facing a trauma, getting therapies, things like that. And so give us a kind of a brief description of that, because those are the things that feed your soul and your body in order to get your motivation to move forward on this. Am I right?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, you have to get all those right, because that's the low-hanging fruit. It's right. Like, make time, go to bed earlier. I don't want to wake up early. Go to bed earlier. Get some sleep. Start eating better. Seed oils are killing everybody. The seed oils will be the end of our population, period. Because they break down. You are made up of the fats. And if you don't have cholesterol in your diet, you can't. Every cell wall in your body is cholesterol. All your hormones are based on cholesterol. And if you don't have that, the biggest scam on the earth is vegetarian.
Thank you.
Veganism.
Right. Yes. And a whole other topic and show in of on itself.
Oh, yeah. Yes, because you're not getting the fats. You look at the most unhealthy people on earth and they're vegans. And then you start
it's a good detox way to cleanse up and get started, but it is very difficult.
You start with that, because like this weekend, I just finished my first 5-day fast, water fast. Mm-hmm. Amazing. But you have to reset that relationship with your food, your alcohol, with yourself. And that gives you to where you finally get over to where it's like, now, okay, I did that. Now, what am I going to do after this? Right, you have to build on successes.
Absolutely. So that's wonderful. So, well, great. Well, give us, again, a little bit of information about where we can find you and more about your story and what you're doing.
Yeah. If you want to follow me I'm on LinkedIn. It's my home. That's where I post everything. Mm-hmm. All my thoughts. There's some pretty wild thoughts. There's controversial thoughts. There's just anecdotes that I think about. And but a lot of it is like motivating people to make that change
Great.
that I've made.
And then you will have a book coming out. So Deliberate Evolution. I love that title. It's wonderful. So we're looking forward to that. And I'll update the website when you have that available. Looking very forward to it. When do you expect that to come?
I said this summer, but summer's like dragging out. And then I was like, okay, summer doesn't end until September 22nd.
Right, there you go.
So I'm like almost done. Get it to the editor, get it out. And I'm self-publishing, so I don't have to worry about all the other the other loops I have to jump through.
Good. Congratulations. It is very difficult.
Thank you.
I've been trying to do that as well. So it is difficult. And congratulations. So good. And you will be able to find Dan Capello on all of my information as well. So go to drpbetterlife.com. And again, you can find all of my previous shows and all of the platforms, especially iTunes and Spotify links, plus the YouTube link right when you get on the website, drpbetterlife.com. So Dan, thank you very much. We are looking very forward to that coming out. I'm going to pick it up and read. In fact, you might as well just sign a copy and mail it to me, please. And
Yes, ma'am. Well, thank you so much. It's been an honor to be on your show. I have listened to your show, and your subject is spot on.
Thank you.
I love the grass-fed everything. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. So wonderful. We'll have to talk about that again one of these days. So thank you for coming on. I appreciate it. Everybody have a good week.